Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. This is a show that changes your mind so you can change your community for the better. Well, good morning, and welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. We appreciate you being here with us this glorious day. It has been a busy day already, and it's just noon here on the East Coast. We've got a very special guest today. We've got Colonel John Warden, retired Air Force, and he's going to come on. And Colonel Warden is an expert in so many areas, but we're going to draw on his expertise about the military today. We're going to draw on his expertise about the condition of the United States military, because you know what, Memorial Day was Monday, and a lot of us went to parades, or we went to cemeteries, and we did thank those families that gave their relatives for our freedom and our liberties. And one of the freedoms and liberties that I have is the ability to do what we're doing right now. That I get to be in our home studio here and practice freedom of speech. It isn't just a concept. To some people, freedom of speech is just a concept, but for a lot of us who do what I do, people like Rod Eccles, who was on yesterday with me, we actually practice our freedom of speech. We actually use it. And when you use something, it means a lot more to you. When you practice it, it means a lot more to you. So I have a great appreciation for those that made the ultimate sacrifice so we could sit here and have this conversation today. So we're going to talk, I'm going to try to talk to Colonel Warden about the condition of the U.S. military. We hear stories all the time that the military is in disarray, that the morale is low. I just read something on the internet about there's an approval rating of the president of 14%. I can't imagine how you get that number and how you get people in the military to comment on such a thing. But you know what? Those stories are out there, and if it and God forbid if it's true, do you really have a military that only has 14%? Only improves of its commander-in-chief at 14%. What does that show when we're talking? Well, I mean, when we're talking about the level of morale that you need to be an effective military, and that is extremely important when we're talking about if your military is ready. Morale is something you simply can't toss to the side like it doesn't matter. So we're going to try to get some answers from Colonel Warden today on such topics. We're going to speak for about 20 minutes or so. He's very, very busy, and we hope that it's going to be interesting. And afterwards, I have an interesting story about where I was this morning. So again, my name is Willie Lawson. This is the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be back right after these messages. This is the Willie Lawson Show, a product of Spaceport Productions on the Wacko Network. We'll be back right after.
Only in the forest can you see this. And this. And this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
I didn't know it could do that!
Because one trip to the forest can spark a world of difference.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go, like hiking, canoeing, fishing, or camping. Or create your own adventure with family and friends, and you might just see this. Your moment's out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
It's 6:42 p.m. Time for Steve Plotto and his son Dylan to do the dishes. They talk about everything from the yuckiness of girls to the awesomeness of his soccer team. Sometimes they don't talk at all. Then, hey! The dreaded splash fight. It's Dad o'clock, and it's the best time of the day. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey, parents of children with asthma, here's another hit from the Breathe Easies.
Come on and clean up the mold. Clean up the mold. Mold can trigger asthma in kids young and old. Come on and clean up the mold. Clean up the mold in your house.
This song may be fun, but childhood asthma is not. Preventing asthma attacks can be as simple as cleaning up the mold and mildew in your house. For more Breathe Easy tips to help stop asthma attacks, go to noattacks.org, brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Getting your child home safely
Tap your views together 3 times.
is just a click away.
There's no place like home.
But making sure your child is in the right seat is just one of the steps down the road to safer travel.
I don't know how it works.
Find the right seat for your little one's age and size. There's no better way to get home safely. Know for sure that your child is in the right seat.
How can I ever thank you enough?
Get all the facts at safercar.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, parents of children with asthma, here's the Breathe Easies with another one of your favorite hits.
Don't smoke in the house. Don't smoke in the house. Don't smoke around the kids in the house. Don't smoke in the car. Don't smoke in the house. Don't break my heart with your secondhand smoke in the kids. It can trigger the asthma.
Preventing asthma attacks can be as simple as making your home and car smoke-free zones. For more Breathe Easy tips to help stop asthma attacks, go to noattacks.org or just keep listening.
Vacuum up the floor. Vacuum up the floor. Vacuum up the floor. The asthma trigger is the more. You gotta vacuum up the furniture and vacuum in the cracks because the dander and the dust can give kids asthma attacks.
Simple steps can help your kids breathe easier. Vacuum up the floor to keep your house free of dust, dander, and dust mites. For more Breathe Easy tips to help stop asthma attacks, go to noattacks.org, brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio, the Wacko Network, and Pundit Press Radio. This is conservative talk for those who want to increase their conservative IQ. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, and welcome back to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. We appreciate you being here today. And our guest is with us, Colonel John Warden, retired from the Air Force. And we're going to talk a little bit about the condition of our military, especially when it comes to the Air Force. And the Air Force is important, especially where I sit, because we're right down the street from our friends at MacDill Air Force Base, and where CENTCOM is. A very, very important piece of our military. And we want to get his views on how he sees some of the actions that are going on that concern all of us. Because we need to hear from somebody who knows something. You know what? All of us can guess, all of us can sort of try to read through the lines and the like, but it's always better to find somebody who knows something. My success is following the directive of that half of knowledge is knowing where to find it. And to that end, I'd like to welcome onto the Willie Lawson Show Colonel John Warden, retired Air Force. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Willie, my pleasure.
And before we get started, I want to start with thank you for your service, and thank you for your continued service to our country and our freedom.
Well, it's an honor.
Well, thank you, sir. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, and we talked off air about a little bit about that we weren't going to talk about necessarily the general morale or condition of the military, but I am curious when we see stories, and we see stories on TV and of course on the all-knowing internet, because everything on the internet is true, everything about the condition and preparedness of our military. Is our military ready, or as ready as they've been in the time that you've been involved? Are they more prepared? Are the people who are going in the military more prepared than they've ever been before? Or are we as lacking as some people would have you believe?
We have some substantial problems, and I would focus that on the Air Force. And I would say that a big chunk of the problem is that we simply haven't done any serious development of new platforms, airplanes, weapons, etc., for a long time, primarily because of the focus that we have had on the if you will, the kinds of wars that we previously were fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we put off developing the kinds of things that were needed, would be needed not only for a really serious war, but even the kinds of things that would be very useful against something like this Islamic State menace.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And enlighten me on what kinds of systems are you referring to? The ones that we have. I mean, compare and contrast the ones we have now, that we're using and training on now, as opposed to the kind of systems that we should be developing.
Well, so probably the best way to address that is with a little comparison. When we launched the attack on the 16th of January of 1991 against Iraq in the first Gulf War, that we had airplanes that were without question the very best in the world. They were a revolution ahead of everything else. The first stealth fighters, the precision weaponry, all of the rest of that was so dominant that we were able to do things in a way that simply couldn't be done before. Nobody else could even come close to matching us. In today's world, we have significantly less of that kind of capability, just in numbers, but probably still manageable. But we no longer have that revolutionary dominance that was so important to being able to do really, really things in a very short period of time. That is, I think, is probably the largest single issue that we have facing us right now.
Why is that? You know what? It seems to me that if we were looking for innovation, our nation as a whole has always benefited on the innovation that happened in the military and happened in our space program. All the way down to not just weapon systems or hunting rifles or styrofoam, but just all sorts of things in general. What happened? What made that stop?
Well, there are a couple of things, and one of them is a very broad thing, and that is that the United States overall has lost the position it had in innovation compared to the rest of the world. We have fallen off in patents. We have fallen off in the number of new startups. We simply are not being as innovative as a nation as we once were, and of course that all tends to spill into the military, because the military benefits from whatever the broad capabilities of the country are. More specifically to the military, we started off with some ideas that were really, really strange from our Secretary of Defense, Bob Gates, who was at the end of the Bush administration and then for several years into the Obama administration. He very specifically said he didn't want to hear anything about developing technologies or weapons for the future. All he was interested in was focusing on today. And by today, what he meant at the time was the very strange kind of war that was going on in Iraq and in Afghanistan. So when the Secretary of Defense drives that and then later enforces it with some pretty draconian personnel actions like firing a Secretary of the Air Force and a Chief of Staff that were trying to push innovation, then the rest of the military falls into line pretty much, and all of the research goes into improving things that might have a short-term application in Iraq and Afghanistan, and in the meantime we lose years and years and fail to take advantage of the kind of research capabilities that were in aerospace and other companies, and that just kind of falls into disuse. If you don't use innovation capability, it goes away, and kind of frighteningly fast.
You know, it's kind of amazing that that Secretary Gates could be what seems to me very very short-sighted, because it's almost pretending like the rest of the world is not going to innovate. That because we don't, everybody else is going to stay pat. Well, we all know that that's not true in any industry or endeavor around the world. That that the French are working on flying cars. They have a vehicle. So the Jetsons that we all watched as children is actually taking place in France. It's not 15 years from now. They have a product. So I don't understand how Secretary Gates could decide on his own, especially that we're not going to worry about innovation. We're not going to worry about what this thing is going to look like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line. It seems to me, and I know you, and I don't know if you want to get into this, but it seems to me that that's a more political and ideological decision as opposed to a strategic one.
Well, there was it was a very strategic decision in some sense, and that is that it had it put the United States into a really bad strategic situation. But yeah, you're right. I think it was driven. It was driven probably by a particular personal philosophy, probably driven by the instructions that he was getting from the White House. A whole variety of things that flowed into this that just that really created a big problem. I was last year I made a very interesting trip to Turkey and had a little opportunity to see some of the things that were going on in technology and military in Turkey. I had not been there for over 20 years before, and my last recollection of the Turks of Turkey from that standpoint was nice guys, but flying old stuff, older kind of equipment, way behind everybody else. I could not have imagined the kind of progress that they had made. And when I looked around, I'm looking at stuff that, holy smokes, I thought only we were doing this kind of thing, but it was being done there. I've seen it the same thing at technology shows around the world in South America, where you have the Brazilians, the Chileans, the Indians, the Chinese that are developing things that of a scant decade ago that only the United States was developing or could develop. So we simply have lost that revolutionary lead that we had over the rest of the world, and this is going to be catastrophic if we don't figure out a way to fix it.
That's you know what, and this is one of the things, quite frankly, Colonel, that I was afraid of in talking to you, that you would say something like this to scare me, because it frightens me. It really does. I have a 24-year-old. It frightens me to think that the thing that we have done best in our history is innovate. That innovations that have started here in this country, starting from radio through television and all the things that went with it, have revolutionized the world. And now we're not on the first page anymore. We're not on the first page anymore. We're on the second and third pages. To forces, frankly, that may not have our best interest at heart.
Well, they don't, and one of the things that in military circles that there's a lot of discussion about asymmetric warfare, and it is always incorrectly explained as though that people that were fighting with ancient muskets and swords and so on against us somehow or other had an asymmetric advantage. That's exactly the opposite of the truth. The real asymmetric advantage is the technology that we have that we can bring to bear that nobody else could have brought to bear in the past. That it's almost impossible to create a huge advantage or even a significant advantage if you are dependent on two ground forces fighting each other, for example, or anything that's going head to head. The real asymmetric advantage, and the thing that has allowed the United States to do what it's done for the last half century plus, is really having this unbeatable technology edge, which is, we still have it to some extent, but the trends are all going in exactly the wrong direction.
Why don't we know this as a public? Because I think that the general public still believes that we have this edge, and that we are so far ahead, especially of the world, and especially in the Middle Eastern part of the world, that we are so far ahead of them. They still see pictures of the Gulf War, frankly, where Saddam Hussein's troops were acting like Puerto Rico when they played the Dream Team. They were coming back looking for autographs.
Yeah.
They were and that whole thing kind of reminded me of that. I don't know if you remember when the Dream Team played Puerto Rico, that the Puerto Rican team was getting autographs. They were so impressed. They were so overwhelmed, and that's what it seemed like. And I think that we still have a picture of that in our head as the American public. Why don't people know that we have lost this edge?
Well, so that was of course that's a quarter of a century ago now. The 25th anniversary of that war is in fact next year. So it's been a while.
Did you have to mention that it was 25 years ago?
Well, having had more than a little bit of a part in that, I have sort of that same reaction. Oh my gosh, that's a long time ago. But so it's been a long time, and then the second thing is that it is certainly not in the interest of the president or the administration to stand up and say we're in trouble, things are not going well, et cetera, et cetera. Number one, and then number two, the handful of senior military officers that have stood up and have said, hey, we got a problem, we got to develop this, we got to develop that, have been pretty brutally suppressed. When I say brutally, I obviously don't mean physically, but they've been removed from office, told to shut up, and so on and so forth. So and you'd think, well, maybe the defense industry would be talking about this sort of stuff, but the defense industry is reluctant to be critical of the national policy and the administration because that they're dependent for their next paycheck. They got to keep the government happy and keep supplying it with what it wants, regardless of whether it's the very best thing for the nation or not. So there are very few people out there that, one, are in a position to talk about this, two, that there's not very much understanding within the media. I mean, you have an obvious understanding of this that's significantly beyond what you would find certainly on MSNBC or ABC or NBC or anything like that. So there's nobody that can talk about it, and nobody gives a darn about it. So this is not a good situation.
No, it seems like, and I don't like to play Chicken Little politics, but it seems like the sky is falling, and no one and everybody's just passing out umbrellas, pretending that this really isn't a problem at all. When it seems like when we look at, especially, and I don't want to mix stuff up too much, but we look at people from certain parts of the world coming here to our best colleges and universities and learning about all sorts of technologies and taking that knowledge out of the country back to places that, again, don't mean that first of all mean us harm. They don't necessarily have our best interests at heart. They actually mean us harm, and using those technologies and that information they've learned to develop technologies and innovations to actually harm us. And no one seems, and there's no force to say, to wave the flag to say we've got a real problem here, and if we don't get on it in the next little bit, and I don't mean like 25 years from now, I mean like in 25 days from now, we could be in a desperate situation.
Well, for sure, and although it's a little bit peripheral to the conversation, one of the things with all of these people that are coming from a variety of different places and going through our extraordinarily good universities, which are still the best in the world, that a great number of those people would like nothing more than to be able to stay here in the United States, but our immigration policies have made that very, very difficult. We should be out recruiting these people and say, hey, you come to the college here, you go through the college, and you can stay here on a work permit or whatever for as long as you want, and et cetera, which is a completely different issue, obviously, than the sort of the mass kinds of movements that we have across the southern border and so on and so forth. So we just simply haven't thought about this very clearly. We don't have a national strategy to build innovation and then to move it down into specific applications, which the government has a responsibility for, such as in the military. And we got to solve this. And you're right. This is not a 20-year problem. This is a today problem.
That makes sense. You know what? Way back when I was at university, all the kids that were caught breaking into the mainframe at Florida State. That was worked on by the Control Data Corporation, which is no longer in existence, got hired by Control Data Corporation.
Yeah.
Saying, you know what, if you're that good, we'd rather have you on our side than be out there doing what you're doing.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
And that was well before there was a computer science degree. There was no such thing back in 1981 as a computer science degree, but there were some really, really bright folks out there, so they got hired.
I love the analogy. That's wonderful. Yeah.
And I think that might be part of an ongoing strategy. And I know you only have a few minutes, but and I could ask you questions all day, but I won't. As we finish up, as we look at our lack of innovation, and I like that we went here today. What do you see in the coming years? Go ahead. I'm already terrified, Colonel. So you can go ahead and if you got something bad to tell me, go ahead and tell me now. I had triple bypass surgery last year. You can't tell me something that's much worse than that.
It's so. That there's always temptation to look at historical analogies, and to my mind, that there's only one or two political entities that have come close to being what the United States is. One of them was the Roman Empire, the Republic, and then the Empire, and it's no longer there, and it went away not because that it was attacked by people from the outside who were so much better trained, equipped, or whatever, but because that its internal will collapsed, and it just no longer had the drive to do the things that were necessary to stay on top, and maybe there's an inevitability to that kind of a cycle, and my terrible fear is that we are kind of on the backside of that similar sort of a cycle, and it's going to take quite either an enormous shock or an extraordinarily bright, charismatic political leader if we are going to recover and to reverse the course. And neither one of those are guaranteed.
That is very true. And you said what others have said, and I take that as confirmation. I know that I hear from the people that govern you and me that you have to be out here in about 5 seconds, but I appreciate your time with me. Colonel, thank you again for your service and your continued service to your country. If it's okay, I'd like to talk to you again about some of the other stuff that you've done, the books that you've written. They all seem very interesting. I'd like to know. So if it's okay, I'd like to contact you again in a little bit, and maybe we can have a conversation about something else.
happy to do it. And in the meantime, keep up the great work that you're doing. I mean, if people aren't talking about this kind of thing, then nothing can happen.
It's my honor. I feel like it's my duty. So I appreciate you coming on today. All right, and again, sir, have a fantastic rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colonel. All right, that was Colonel John Warden, retired Air Force, with us talking about the condition of our fighting force, and something that nobody is talking about. Nobody's talking about that we're losing the innovation war. We're losing the innovation war. Now, we're losing the innovation war in general in the world, that the innovation is coming from all sorts of other places other than here, but is really showing up in our military. And that's the difference. That is the difference. So we need people to carry on this conversation. My advice to you, and because it's never about what I can do, it's about what you're willing to do, is that when it comes time, especially in a little bit, when people come knocking on your door, say vote for me, blah blah blah, for Congress, for Senate, for President, that we ask them about innovation in the military and how important that is to them, and how we are going to crank that innovation machine up in this country again. Because that is the secret to our success and the key to our survival. My name is Lloyd Lawson. We'll be back with more of the Lloyd Lawson Show right after these messages. Welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. This is a show that changes your mind so you can change your community for the better.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, but remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
You have discriminating taste and an eye for the impressive. You need to surround yourself with not only beauty, but quality. That is why you are looking for a new construction home for you and your family. Let the experts at New Homes of Tampa Bay guide you to and through your new home purchase process. With access to hundreds of model homes throughout the Tampa Bay area, New Homes of Tampa Bay is sure to find that perfect match of budget and beauty you are looking for. New Homes of Tampa Bay can save you thousands of dollars while costing you nothing. Call us today before you start your new home search. New Homes of Tampa Bay at 813-770-9452 and at www.newhomestpa.com.
1.5 billion smartphones are waiting for content. Currently, 159 million Americans listen to online radio. Yes, podcasting is here to stay. However, podcasting is more than just sticking a microphone in front of you and talking. Our program, Podcasting for Beginners, will start you with all of the right moves to create a look, feel, and experience that your listeners will not soon forget. Create authority in your industry and connect with new customers with a professional podcast. Isn't that what you want? Join us at Podcasting by Professionals. Our 5-hour program is an easy-to-follow, step-by-step instructional to help you avoid the mistakes that can keep you in a holding pattern for months, even years. Early bird pricing available now at podcastingbyprofessionals.com. Join us and get your name in the game. We're reaching millions.
Well, good morning. Are you interested in upping your conservative IQ? To be more solid in your conservative thought? To be able to debate at a higher level? To be able to understand at a higher level what conservatism in America is really all about? Well, I can help you now. Alongside us as partners is a new partner, the RedRiverChronicle.com website. The RedRiverChronicle.com website, whose founder is Kevin Batts, understands what conservatism is all about and understands it in the way they write their articles, their commentary, all the educational material that is on the website, put together in a great way, very easy to navigate. So if you want to up your IQ, go to RedRiverChronicle.com. All right, welcome back to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. We appreciate you being here today. Again, very, very informative conversation with Colonel John Warden, retired force, about the lack of innovation as something that is extremely important if we're going to have the top military on the planet. And I've said this, and I still hold true to this. This may not be a very learned military opinion, but it is my view that in order for us to maintain the quality of life that we have, frankly, we have to be able to defend it. If you can't defend it, you can't keep it. That may be overly simplistic, but it seems to make sense to me. No matter what it is, if you can't defend it, then you can't keep it. If you don't have a lock on your doors and windows, being able to buy that 90-inch flat screen isn't going to do you any good, because there's very little way that you can keep it unless you're able to sit at your front door with a loaded 12 gauge. You probably won't keep it, no matter how nice the neighborhood you happen to be in. And that's with anything. If you can't defend it, you can't keep it. Okay, before I go on to where I was this morning, I want to, I don't know if he's listening, young man who called, who has a show that's on right after ours, Trey. He's a self-titled progressive from California. He may indeed be listening now. I don't know. If he is, he can call in, and I'd like to go, if Trey, if you're listening, you called in yesterday. If you want to finish this conversation about Hillary Clinton, I had some thoughts. And interesting, I ran out of time. I had some thoughts about Hillary Clinton and her qualifications. Now, Trey mentioned to me, and that's why I wish he'd call, because I don't want to misquote him or misrepresent what he said. Is that Hillary Clinton, because of her time that she traveled as Secretary of State, and even her time as First Lady, that somehow qualifies her for being president. Because you could have a governor, in his estimation, that wasn't a successful governor. That may not qualify them for being president. Well, and I guess if you take that viewpoint, you should be pretty good with taking a viewpoint. You can also have a Secretary of State that was not a successful Secretary of State. Now, how do we know that? By looking at the condition of the things that they were responsible for. And I know that if he's listening, this is going to make his head explode, just like it makes progressives' heads explode all the time. But that's okay. Get some duct tape, wrap it around your head. You'll be okay. I promise. I wouldn't do anything to hurt you on purpose, that's for sure. If you look at things like Benghazi, disaster, absolute, positive disaster. Well, how do you know it was a disaster? Because 4 Americans, including the ambassador, were killed. The ambassador was drugged through the streets of Benghazi like some sort of common criminal. Well, disaster. When one of your State Department guys gets murdered, then guess what? Disaster. And then you run around busier than a cat covering up you know what, trying to spin how it happened, doesn't make you successful. It makes at least that part of your administration there, as Secretary of State, a nightmarish, hellish, unmitigated failure. There you go. So we're probably not going to support Hillary Clinton in a run for president, and we probably won't be taking any commercial monies from people who are supporting Hillary Clinton, even if they offer it, and they will. Believe me, they will. All right, where I was yesterday, and this may get some liberals and progressives a call, but I was at McDonald's. I know. And all my listeners who love me say, why do you have your ass at McDonald's? Aren't you the guy that had triple bypass surgery last January? Not this past January, January before last? Yes. But I was there on business. I was there because I got a tip from my friend Shirley Huzar of Urban Game Changers. Suddenly, amazingly, there was something going on in my own neighborhood that I was not aware of. Ever happened to you? Happened to me. There was a McDonald's opening up in my neighborhood that had a self-service kiosk. It was actually it was on the website in a local newspaper on TVO.com. And she asked me to go check it out. So, you know what I did this morning? I went and checked it out. I used it. It's like a life-size kiosk, the ones that you see at Wawa. And for those of you who live in the Northeast and now in Florida, that has seen a Wawa, they know that when you go order your sandwich or your bowl or your dessert or whatever, you walk up to a kiosk, go up to a little tablet kind of thing, and you push the pictures of the thing you want, and you click the order button, and it spits out a ticket. You get a ticket up to the counter, and you pay for it. Generally speaking, the kiosk at McDonald's works the very same way. You walk up to this kiosk, which is about 6.5, 7 feet tall, and it's got pretty big touch buttons, and you touch it, and you start ordering. And on the left-hand side is a scrolling menu of the things like burgers or entrees or meals or drinks or desserts, and you scroll through, pick the one that you want, and on the main part of the screen, it shows what you want. It shows what's in that category, and you swipe, just like you swipe an app, until you find the thing you want, and then you touch it. It's got the price there. I imagine soon that one of the things that is going to show is the number of calories, like the regular menu showed, and then you touch it, and it goes down sort of in your little shopping cart, just like if you were ordering from Amazon. And then it shows if there's any options, like if you want a quarter pounder, do you want just the sandwich or do you want the meal? Do you want the regular meal or do you want the large meal? And whichever you want, you just touch. So let's say you want the large meal. You just touch the large meal, and then it'll ask you what kind of drink you want, and then you can decide the very same way what kind of drink, whether it's coffee, whether it's a soft drink, whether it's tea, cold or hot. And when you're done with all that, you're ready to order. You can edit the order. So if you don't want pickles, you can take the pickles off then. If you don't want ice in your drink, you can take that off then too. Click on OK. Touch OK. I don't say click like there's a keyboard. There's no keyboard. Touch OK. It asks you again, is this your order? Is this what you want? And you touch OK. And then you decide, you decided in advance whether you're going to pay in cash. And if you pay in cash, you go to you take your ticket and you go to the register, just like a Wawa. Or if you're going to pay with a card, debit card or credit card, you can pay right there. You can pay right there at the kiosk. You can pay right there at the kiosk. And then you look to your right to your left there at this particular place. And the little I call them buzzy circles, like when you go to Outback and you're waiting in line, they hand you you go sign in, they hand you a buzzy circle. Or for those of us who still go to Red Lobster, they hand you a little buzzy circle when your table's ready. They hand you a little buzzy circle, and when your order is ready, it buzzes and you go up to the pickup window with your number and get your order. And then you split. This particular McDonald's had a very small counter because it seems like they're preparing for having fewer cashiers or order takers. Now, the people who were there were very, very helpful and hop out there and help people use the kiosk because they've just been trained. It was very cool. It was very nice. They help you with all that. They've upgraded this particular restaurant. It's a very, very nice, very, very nice looking restaurant. And there's someone in the dining room to help you with things, get stuff for you if you need more coffee, if you need more soda, if you need napkins or whatever. There's a hostess in the dining room there to help you. So it seems like they're changing kind of what they do. And if you order to eat there, you know what, they used to bring you your order in the, it was just a to-go order on a plastic tray, but it was a really nice basket. It was a tray, a nice basket, wrought aluminum basket. But they brought it out on. It was very, very nice. I mean, for McDonald's, very, very upscale. They're changing how they do things. So for those people who are being used and abused by the union types, that you somehow deserve $15 an hour, the very thing that we've said here and other people have said around the country is that technology is already set to replace the unskilled. It's set up to replace those that are railing against the machine. So there has got to be a balance. So somebody who's not good with people, in this particular instance, if you're not good with customer service and you're not good with people and the like, you're probably not going to fit this new dynamic that McDonald's is bringing in. Now, they've opened this place in Wesley Chapel, Florida, a place that you've never freaking heard of, that you have never freaking heard of. When you see it on TV, they'll tell you it's in Tampa, but I'll tell you that it isn't. I'll tell you that it is in Wesley Chapel, Florida. That's north of Tampa. That I will tell you. And they opened it without any fanfare. They opened it, they didn't tell anybody. As a matter of fact, I talked to one of the people that work there, the lady that helped me, and she said they didn't tell the employees who worked there what they were doing. They just came in and built these things in the middle, in the middle of their order area. They didn't even tell the. I'm sure the managers knew, but they didn't tell the employees what they were doing. Because I guess, unfortunately, I guess they didn't want that information getting out, and people having a problem with it before they saw that it wasn't going to be a problem. Now, I did talk to Donna, what was her name, the lady that helped me, and I asked how people were receiving it. And frankly, Wesley Chapel is a community right now that has more older people, especially older people that frequent a McDonald's at 9 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the week. That it was sort of 80-20 negative. And I was and we had a small conversation, Donna and I, and it was basically because people don't necessarily like change, and if there's something that has not changed seemingly since I was a kid in school, when I used to frequent the McDonald's that's on Highway 60 in Brandon, Florida. You don't know where the hell that is either. Is the McDonald's experience. Go to the counter, order your food by number. I wanted number 3 because you knew that number 3 was a quarter pounder with cheese meal. It had a quarter pounder with cheese. It had a large fry and a large drink. Right? You order number 3, and you kind of get used to that experience. And now they're switching that experience up some, to give you more, ostensibly to give the customer more choice in what they order and how they order it. So I think it's going to catch on. I like it. I didn't have any trouble with it. I really didn't have any trouble ordering, especially after I went and ordered a coffee to start with to play with it, and then I came back and ordered lunch, and you'll see that in the video that we're going to put up on Florida Dash here this afternoon, and you'll see Urban Game Changers Florida is going to put up the video as well. So. I'm excited about it. I think that it's going to be something that people are just going to get used to. I don't want to say have to get used to, but they're going to get used to. As a matter of fact, these kiosks have each kiosk has 2 sides. They're 2-sided, so you can handle 4 people. And of course, it's like when people get used to it, they'll be able to order for themselves fairly quickly. Especially once you learn where things are, it's just like Wawa. It took me a while the first couple of times I ordered at Wawa, but now it doesn't take any time at all. I can order my bowl, because that's what I have mostly at Wawa. I can probably order that bowl probably in 15 or 20 seconds. Doesn't take any time to order it. And I think that people will gain this sort of alacrity at McDonald's as they perfect these kiosks. As they dial them in. Now this is the only one in Florida, so this thing's far from perfected, and they're really going to dial it in. And once they dial it in, people will be able to do it quickly and efficiently, and I guarantee you they will like it. And that will in that particular store, from my estimation, probably replace 1 or 2 cashiers that think they should be making $15 an hour to do exactly what I can do, and do it better, and with a better attitude, and don't get sick, and don't have health care to pay for, and don't have unemployment insurance, and don't have all the things that go with having a person take your order. Automatic order taking is the future, so be careful. those who are being used and abused by unions asking for a living wage. Because it seems to me if you're not careful, you're going to be asking for some kind of wage, and it might not be a living one. My name is Willie Lawson. We'll be back to finish up right after these messages. Welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. This is a show that changes your mind so you can change your community for the better. You have discriminating taste and an eye for the impressive. You need to surround yourself with not only beauty, but quality. That is why you are looking for a new construction home for you and your family. Let the experts at New Homes of Tampa Bay guide you to and through your new home purchase process. With access to hundreds of model homes throughout the Tampa Bay area, New Homes of Tampa Bay is sure to find that perfect match of budget and beauty you are looking for. New Homes of Tampa Bay can save you thousands of dollars while costing you nothing. Call us today before you start your new home search. New Homes of Tampa Bay at 813-770-9452 and at www.newhomestpa.com. Well, good morning. Are you interested in upping your conservative IQ? To be more solid in your conservative thought? To be able to debate at a higher level? To be able to understand at a higher level what conservatism in America is really all about? Well, I can help you now. Alongside us as partners is a new partner, the RedRiverChronicle.com website. The RedRiverChronicle.com website, whose founder is Kevin Batts, understands what conservatism is all about and understands it in the way they write their articles, their commentary, all the educational material that is on the website, put together in a great way, very easy to navigate. So if you want to up your IQ, go to RedRiverChronicle.com. Good morning. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Willie Lawson Show, here on Blog Talk Radio.
No one to talk to, all by myself. No one to walk with, but I'm happy up on my shelf. A misbehavior, saving all my love for you.
All right, welcome back to the Willie Lawson Show here on Blog Talk Radio. It's been a fun show, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. I have had a gas. I've had a gas, but I've had a gas, and I'm looking forward to more conversations with Colonel Warden and with you about innovation in the military, innovation in general. I've got a great. I just thought about it. I've got a fantastic clip from Right Online about innovation that I will either put up here or put up on the Breaker show, and I'll broadcast it on Facebook and on Twitter. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, you should. You can follow me at RBM Show, word, on Twitter, or you can follow my Facebook page. Just go to Facebook and type in the Willie Lawson Show, and you can follow us there. So we would appreciate that. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks for coming. Again, we appreciate everything that you do. Campaign's going good. You can go to our GoFundMe page and qualify. or you can go to Lawson for Commissioner and donate to the campaign so we can campaign. Until we see you again, go out there and learn, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.
Good morning. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is The Willie Lawson Show, here on Blog Talk Radio.